Well, hello again. Here we are, ready for today's episode of A Legacy of Love and Laughter. Today, we're doing History of Our World, Part 2. You want to tell everybody why?
Sure. I graduated in 1960, and we had class reunions and stuff like that. And this year, with COVID, we didn't. I mean, this graduation we couldn't have it because of COVID. So here it is, 2 years later. It's 2022. What is the date? September 29th, 2022. And the other day, I got in the mail a very interesting little thing that we're going to talk about, and it's called it's called the 1% Age Group. And it was sent to everybody in our graduating class that was able to attend the reunion. So that's what we're going to talk about today, is all the things they told us that probably didn't even know about or didn't think about until I got this thing in the mail.
Definitely food for thought. You know, I'm pretty excited that you've had reunions because we had a 50th reunion and that was it. When I was about 40, we tried to have a reunion, but see, our reunions were different. My graduating class was so small that we had to combine our prom and our reunion and everything with the class that was ahead of or behind us. It was awful. I mean, but you can't have a prom with like 40 people. It just doesn't look,
No, my class was 715 people. That was in New Britain High School. But in Goodwin Tech, where I went also as well as she did, we had a small class too small to ever have any kind of reunion. So we never had a reunion.
Yeah, they kind of do this alumni thing every year.
Yeah,
I've never been to one. I think I went to one when I was expecting the twins, which makes it over 50 years ago. Pretty shocking, isn't it? My stars. Okay, so this is to try to give you a glimpse of what life was like in general for us. Yes, you will hear repeats. It helps you remember. Remember that.
Yeah, we don't remember it real good.
That's right. So we may watch these to just remember ourselves. If we start to get a little feeble-minded, just play these for us, and we'll go, oh, yeah, I remember now. Okay.
Who is that woman?
Oh, my God, that looks very familiar. I think I know her. Couldn't be me. You know what? This is very interesting. Have you noticed this about yourself? I always thought I was kind of homely. I got big teeth, and I wasn't exactly endowed and all that stuff. But when I look back at my pictures, I go, you know what? I was kind of cute.
Well, see, that time will heal all that stuff. You realize you never think enough of good stuff about yourself. You're too fat, you're too skinny, your teeth are crooked, your hair is kinky, all kinds of, no matter what it is. And other people will say, you're so cute, or you're so pretty, or you're so nice, and you're going, what are you looking at?
And that's true for everybody. So this isn't about us. That piece is about you. So anyway, we are called the 1% age group, which are people born between 1930 and 1946. So 1942, 1945. So in 2022, which is today, the age range is between 76 and 92, and we are floating in there. So here are some interesting facts. You want to start with the first one?
Sure. You are the smallest group of children born since the early 1900s.
And there was a reason for that. We were just coming out of the war, the Depression, and so that's why at that time the birth rate was low. Now they said recently that it has been dropping for a number of years. And down the road we'll have a better picture of why that is what it is. We're the last generation climbing out of the Depression who can remember the winds of war, the impact of a world at war that rattled the structure of our daily lives for years. Well, of course, I was born in 45, so the war had just about ended. And you are not that much older that you remember a lot of actual up close and personal war.
Not that it affected my life, for sure.
Right, but we did have uncles and other relatives in World War II. And let's see, that was at least Uncle Walter was in World War II. And I think that in Poland, one of our great granduncles, whatever, had been in the military. And Uncle Andy was in the military during the Korean War. So it didn't really end with World War II, but we do remember remnants. Do you remember any of the remnants after World War II?
Well, I remember some of it. I don't remember it really, except what I read. You know, you knew what was going on, but you were a kid and you didn't pay any attention to that stuff. But they had things like ration books. I mean, that was, there were tickets like that you'd rip out for butter, for bread, for whatever it was. And you'd get this fancy white stuff in a plastic bag and it had a little round ball in it that was orange, and you mixed it all up with your hands. I got to do that part. That was pretty good. And it was fake butter.
Yeah, that was when margarine first came out. It was white, like Crisco.
Yeah.
So you would get the color, which was probably toxic. I don't
And
know.
they salted it up, so you had a little fat and a little salt.
Yeah. They tried to give it some flavor, but that was the first margarine. There were shortages. So when you're griping about the shortages today, oh, there's nothing on the shelves. Yeah, so just be creative and think of something else. If we could put little yellow pellets in our salted fat to come up with butter.
Well, they rationed everything. I mean, your shoes, your books, your everything, sugar, everything you had, your appliances and everything. Everything was rationed. I mean, you save your books, you save your little books, your little tickets in it, and to get whatever it was you wanted. I mean, you get so many per month or per week. Don't remember how they did it. And depending on what it was you wanted, you save a few of them aside. If you need a new stove, start saving your ration tickets.
And it was for the war effort. We were sacrificing so that we would be able to have the military supplies to help to save democracy, save our world, save lives around the world. When my mom was expecting, when our mom was expecting Valerie, what did she do about the war effort?
She sold ration books. She sat out in front of the theater. They gave her a nice little place, and she was very pregnant with me. And we have a photograph. We will get it to you some one of these days, where she sat and she sold ration books just for the war effort, for people to do something to help. Because men being off to the war and different things going on like that, we were kind of at short ends, so everybody tried to do their part.
Yeah. And of course, in school, we did have air raid drills, so you would hear the air raid alerts. That was kind of scary because they were awful loud. Oh, they were awful. And you'd hear the alarm and you'd go under your desk and tuck your head down and cover. Oh, you're supposed to cover back of your neck. Duck and cover. Like that was going to help with a bomb, but just saying. That's what it made us feel better, Okay, it says here you saved a tin foil and poured fried meat fat into tin cans. Well, because again, the metal was rationed, so we saved it for the war effort and turned it in kind of early.
You poured your fat in your tin can.
Well,
too.
Except our grandmother didn't do a tin can.
No.
Our grandmother put it in a Fire King, like a quart, a glass measuring cup. Yeah. So you'd open the refrigerator, and there would be this jar with layers of
Most
fat.
Most of the time she had it on the back of the stove. She had
I only remember
partial wood stove, wood and a little bit of gas.
That's even scarier. I mean,
but
it
would sit up there and on there and get semi-firm, but not really firm. So if she needed to fry something, she would just take it out of there. And it could be fat from pork, it could be from beef, it could be from chicken.
Whatever.
Just keep filling the pot. And nobody died. Nobody got sick.
People did die.
We didn't die.
Did. We didn't die.
Only the bad people died.
If only that were the case. But I do remember, and there's the thing. she would make things. Now, we are vegetarians now, probably from looking at that fat in the thing so long.
Yeah.
But
Maybe
we
something did
are,
happen
I
to her.
remember it in the refrigerator, I don't remember on the stove.
Yeah, on the
But
stove.
when we ate meat, she made the best pot
Pork
roast and pork chops, and she would do it with that damn thing of grease, and she'd just pour some in there. It could be a little bacon fat.
Yeah, and how much better was Crisco? Really? You know,
I don't know. I don't.
I just think it will get rancid after a while.
I
But I
think
guess she
it
used
will.
it fast enough, so it really, we never got sick.
But
from it.
she made a pot roast that would knock your socks off. She would brown that meat. She'd sear it in the frying pan, and not frying pan, the Dutch oven, and flip it over and cook it, sear it on the other side, and then kind of roll it so it's seared all around. Put the cover on it and cook it for a long time until the meat just fell apart. Then, what would she do? Do you remember what she'd do?
With pot roast?
Yeah?
No.
She'd take the meat out and she would take some sauerkraut and she'd rinse it a little bit and squeeze out the extra liquid and throw it in those drippings and stir it around, and that was like so.
It was good.
So
it was
good.
really good.
It was so good and
Only thing I
greasy.
can remember that was better, besides pierogies and the usual stuff, was when I was going to school and I was living there for a year of school, a school year, just during the week. I'd come home for lunch and she'd make me pork chops and potato salad. Oh my God, could she cook a pork chop? I have never been able to make a pork chop like she's made it. I watched her all the time. I still can't do
You
it.
don't save the drippings.
Apparently not. It had to be with the pot roast drippings.
Yeah,
Maybe.
yeah. And she used an electric frying pan. She always made those pork chops in an electric frying pan. I can
Not
see
mine.
that thing now.
On the
I
stove.
miss that frying pan. I used to have
She
one.
did it on the stove. She didn't for when it's going to school. She didn't have time for the electric
Well,
frying pan.
she had it when
You're
I
making
remember.
one pork chop, remember?
She had that pork chop on that night. We had pork chops, and you got sick.
I was pregnant.
Nobody knew it. Uh-oh, cat's out of the bag. Oh, that's another whole story. We'll go there on when we talk about sex and taxes.
Right.
Okay, it is your turn.
But it's my turn. Okay. You can remember when milk was delivered to your house early in the morning, placed it in a milk box. Most of the time it got all the way in the milk box with the lid covered, which was fine. Because when it didn't, sometimes you'd go to open it and it had already been being pushed up by the frozen milk because the cold air got inside the box and froze it up a little bit. But if you didn't get frozen, you would take that out and you had cream on the top and the milky part on the bottom. So you had to shake it and everything all the time. But it used to always get delivered in that little metal box early in the morning, so it was ready for you for your cereal and whatever it is you wanted to have.
Now, our memories are a little bit different, but first of all, the milk was not homogenized then,
No.
which is why it separated the cream on the top. That's why they say the cream always rises to the top, because back in the day it did. Today, I don't know, they beat the crap out of it, and it doesn't do that anymore. But I remember a time before the metal boxes, and I'm the younger one, so I don't know how that happened. But you'd even listen to the milk truck would pull up, and you could hear that clink of the bottles as he came onto
Put 'em
the
in a little cart that
back
he
porch.
carried,
That
yeah.
was so excited. And it was so disappointing when, like the milk did get cold and that shoot of cream came up the top, and you thought, ice cream. No, it was just bland. It was just bland. Okay, we are the last generation who spent childhood without television. Instead,
We're still here.
and we're still here. We imagined what we heard via the radio. People would get around the radio and they would listen to things like Annie, what is it? Orphan Annie and The Shadow Knows.
The Lone Ranger.
Alone, yeah. So the whole family would be there.
Yeah.
And Valerie and I were talking about that earlier because she said, well, yeah, it's like reading, you get to use your imagination. And I said, yeah, that's true. And when it's narrated, I think the narrator can kind of put a little bit
Yeah.
more interest in it with their voice. And so we did get television when I was about 5, so you were about 8.
Yeah.
And it was black and white.
And the screen was about this big.
And we were so excited. And I think we talked a little bit about it. You know, it's hard. It's not like our memory issue. That sometimes we talk about it. We talk about doing the videos, and we're so excited that we'll be telling somebody else about it. And then we'll start reminiscing. And then we can't remember if you told you about it or not. But we watched this marionette show called Foodini and Pinhead. Yes, we will
Just
show
what you
you a
think.
clip. We will show you a clip one day. And
They were puppets.
yeah, Howdy Doody, and
That's right.
we'll talk about our favorite TV shows, but it was all black and white. And when there was nothing on, you would have a test pattern, which was like a circle with crisscross in it, and it kind of was testing that the signal was good. And it always ended with the Star-Spangled Banner. That's, I did see a picture of the flag, you know. Well, after that, it would go static.
Yeah. Snow and static, yeah.
And in that static, there were little flecks of red and blue and green. And our dad used to tell us, oh, see that? Color television's coming.
Yes,
Color
he did.
television's coming.
He is such a joker.
But it didn't, oh, he was such a trickster. Well, I think we talked about it a little. We'll talk
Yeah.
about it more one day. But color television didn't come until I was about 14. You were about 17. And my uncle got his first color TV. We'll talk about how we got that another time, not today. But we all used to go to his house to watch Bonanza, Disney's Wonderful World of
And
Color,
Rocky and Bullwinkle. It was always Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Rocky and Bullwinkle, Natasha, and what was the other?
Boris.
Boris and Natasha.
It warped our brain. We're still talking about it now.
Yeah, you know, well, oh, Lord on mercy, the phone's ringing. Let's see who it is. I don't know. I think we are going to let it go and answer the message when it comes back because you are very important to us, right? So we're going to go back. Do you know back in those days there was no Little League? Can you imagine life without Little League?
Yes, it was great. I didn't have any little boys when I had my kids. I had little girls. But nevertheless, I mean, if a boy was a boy, they wanted to have him in Little League. You devoted your life to it.
I had 3 boys, guys. Sean had no interest, and Nick and Frank loved it. Now, I know we're not talking about our boys yet, but I have to share this. I wanted to encourage Nick and Frank in playing baseball. So Burger King put out a special event down in, what's that park where the Coleman Circus sets up?
The one in
It's
Washington
a fairground
Street.
on Washington Street.
Yeah.
Well, there's this park. So anyway, they had a special thing called Pitch, Hit, and Run. So I signed Nick and Frank up for that. They were so mad. You remember how mad you were, guys? Have you forgiven me yet? I'm not sure because they were not, they did it because they were good boys. Well, that I knew. They did it, but they were not happy. I think I still owe them some Burger King these days.
We did 4-H because, of course, we had horses, and I had girls, and girls and horses are just a thing, you know. So we had like a half a dozen or 8 kids in the 4-H club, and that was very nice for a couple of years, you know. Then they outgrew all that stuff and discovered boys, and that was the end of that.
We did have scouts. I managed to be a brownie. I never flew up to Girl Scouts. I just never. Were you a scout?
No, but I think that Yvonne was.
Yvonne definitely
I'm not sure
was.
about
I think.
Suzette, but I
Oh yeah, I
think
have a
Yvonne
picture
was.
of Suzette in a brownie costume.
Okay.
Costume. Excuse me, uniform.
Uniform, yeah. Right.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I liked it. We did catechism on Wednesdays. All the Catholic children had to go to catechism on Wednesdays, which was a great boon to all the non-Catholic children because they just got to go home early.
I know. Talk about not fair.
None of them were wishing they were Catholic. You'd go and the nuns would teach you, scare the ever-loving out of you. And they had this thing that looked like a cribbage board. It was two blocks of wood with a hinge. And if you weren't paying attention in class, bam, bam, everybody pay attention real quick. But you know what? I still liked it. You know what I liked about it?
No.
We would get these little the books, your study books, and they had blanks to fill out. Oh my God, I love that. I loved filling in the blanks in those little books. Remember going to catechism?
Yes. It really wasn't the greatest experience for me. It was okay when we went to St. Coleman's Church, a little church in Middlefield. And they used to have it in the basement of the church. And the classes were small and they were very nice. But when it went on further and we got a little bit older and we were going as teenagers and stuff like that, it got to be really difficult. It wasn't that the learning was difficult, but the comprehending what they were trying to get across to me. I don't know. I got a hang of it and everything, and I managed to get confirmed and baptized and whatever else I needed to get done. And they even married me in the church, so I guess I was doing okay.
You were doing okay. They didn't know.
They didn't have a clue.
Well, the only thing I remember about early catechism is we would do it at St. Coleman's in the basement. And one thing that bothered me very much is I could not figure out how they would teach us God is love, God loves you, and if you do anything wrong, you're going to hell. That's a topic for another day. But my favorite part of catechism, aside from filling in the blanks in the books, was we got Skippy cups. Skippy cups, do they have a name anymore?
No, but that must have been your class because I didn't get Skippy.
Oh, yeah, we got Skippy cups. They're little cups of ice cream, and it had a cardboard top on it. None of that plastic or anything. We had the little cardboard, and you would pop off the top, and then you'd lick off the ice cream, and then you would peel off the coating on it. It was like wax paper kind of, and there would be a movie star under it.
I do remember that.
Yeah, I do have a picture of a collection of those. Not mine, because you know who doesn't say so. But I have a picture of somebody else. Oh, God, that was funny. So we did play outside. It's your turn. You're about here. Live
About
television.
here. Oh.
Well, you can go. You can pick another one if you like. We did the telephone thing the other day. We could do computers.
Well, like this one says, more than 99% of you are retired. You feel privileged to have more than lived in the best of times, and that's true. Was it really the best of times?
Yeah.
And I mean, you didn't appreciate it then, but boy, I wish it would come back for a little while. It would really be very nice. It was good to have people could talk to each other. You weren't afraid, to walk in the twilight if you want to go out for a little walk or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't want to go anywhere anymore. Stay
Well,
home.
so there was and the youngest of you will have a hard time fathoming this. There was no internet. There was no computers. There was no Google. Can you imagine? However, did we spend our time? We did crafty things too. We knit. Well,
Sort of.
some people knit. When we were really bored, our grandmother, Grammy Parda,
Yeah.
would give us a piece of material and a needle and thread and some buttons. And we would sew buttons. I'm not talking about we were
It didn't
like,
have to be anything when it was finished. Just a
It
piece
didn't.
of fabric with buttons on
we
it.
just loved it.
It was
Sometimes we'd try to make like a smiley face or something. It wasn't called an emoticon in those days. It was called a smile. A simple smile. Life is so complicated today, Do you remember having newspaper or magazine things that you liked? It says here that they didn't have anything for children, but I liked a few of them. Maybe I wasn't too much of a kid, but
I don't. I mean, I remember highlights and that kind of stuff. And something that they used to get if you went to school, you could get
Wednesdays.
What was it?
The Weekly Reader.
Weekly Reader.
Oh,
That I remember.
I love the
I don't
Weekly
know if they still do that or not.
I don't know, but I got to tell you something. The teacher would send someone to the office to get our little bundle, and they would come rolled up with a rubber band around them. At the excitement I had over that Weekly Reader coming in, it really did give me butterflies. I was so excited, and it had crosswords and things to fill out too. It did. I love the Weekly Reader. I even can remember the way it smelled right off the printing. It smelled almost as good as Mimeograph.
Oh, I didn't like the smell.
Oh, I love it. She liked the smell of gasoline, so what the heck do you want, you know? The Mimeograph, they'd bring this big machine with a big drum, and you'd roll stuff
Yeah,
off on the
That's
Mimeograph.
your printing background.
Yeah, and it was purple letters.
Yeah.
How could it get better than purple letters? And it smelled delightful to some.
I was always afraid there'd be a little quiz in there somewhere along the line. I wasn't nuts about that.
Well,
either.
our test came on those purple Mimeograph
Yeah,
things,
right.
but you know. I was going to say, radio network expanded from 3 stations to thousands. And when you're talking about 3 stations, that's what we had to watch for probably when we got married.
Yeah.
And what were the channels?
3 and 8.
No, you missed one.
30.
3, 8, and 30.
That's what you had.
CBS, NBC,
And ABC.
and ABC.
Yeah.
You're good.
Wow, that's about the most thing I remembered all day today.
Do you remember our phone number when we were kids?
No.
225.
4160.
No, 2250671.
Try that. See if you can get us. Check it out.
God only knows
Get
who
an
you
area
get.
code now, though.
We lived in a time, and this is in this whole article. This is what touched me most. We entered a world of overflowing plenty and opportunity, a world where we were welcomed, we enjoyed ourselves, and felt secure in our future. Although the depression of poverty was deeply remembered, in our time, we were safe, aside from the air raid drills. That just duck and cover, you know?
Just kept you on the ball. You know,
Yeah,
it's like-
yeah. There were a lot of war movies, but we didn't watch them. My mother pretty much sheltered us. We lived in a bubble. Then when you get married, you get kicked out of the bubble. And it said also, you are the last generation to experience an interlude when there were no threats to our homeland. If there was a war, it was someplace else. If there was, discord,
Nobody would ever have war on America. Nobody.
No.
It never entered your mind. The only thing, when I was old enough to be dating, and I met Donald, and we got married and stuff, I was scared to death that they were going to take him in the draft. And we were both young. We were 18, 19 years old, and having a baby. And just the thought of them coming in and be able to take him into the war,
Yeah.
that was scary. But they didn't take anybody who was, married if they had small children, whatever.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a deliberate thing. It just happened to work out that way. God didn't want him in the army, so neither did I.
Our dad didn't go in the military, not because he didn't want to. He would have, but he worked in the defense industry, so
They needed them at home.
yeah. And my ex-husband, he'd been, so he went to Berlin. He was there when they had the wall.
Yeah.
Yep. So, and I think that people really appreciated our home and our country and each other back then. We had great communities, and if there's one thing I pray for, it's that we have communities again and that we work together. I think one of the reasons you and I are here, and people in our age category, is to know that we can help make that difference. We know it's a possibility. It's not something that has to be gone because it's not here now.
Well, you get your hopes up sometimes. Like right now, we're going through a very bad phase. Down in Port Florida, there is a horrible hurricane. Horrible. Their houses are underwater, and the water just keeps getting deeper and coming harder, and the rain just won't stop, and the wind is blowing. There was a picture on the computer of a palm tree that was bent in an S shape with a car on top of the palm
Yeah.
tree, and there was no water in sight. I mean, this thing had gotten washed right up on the top of a tree somehow and squished it down a little bit. But these people, they're stuck out there, and there's no help. Well, on television they were showing all these groups of people now that are sending up volunteers from here, from Connecticut, and different places. They want to go, they want to help, you know, so that the good thing is still there. People want to help, they want to be there. Of course, you always get this backlash of all the junk that's going on in the background, and selfish people who just are, they don't care about anybody but themselves and money and that kind of stuff. But there are a few out there that are still trying to make things better.
Yeah, I think we have to remember there are far more good people, loving people, people that want to have a good and peaceful and happy, love your neighbor kind of world.
What is the name of the hurricane? Ian?
This one's Ian.
I-A-N?
I-A-N,
Yeah.
Ian. Yeah.
So if you're watching this in the future, 2022,
30 minutes.
2022, that's the year. And it was Hurricane Ian, it was in Florida, and Florida really got bashed.
Yeah.
So I don't know, you know, it's not that far from Disney World, which it was a big thing for the past how many years?
Oh God, they
you know.
got hit. Yeah. Well, the thing is, we usually build ourselves back up whenever it hits, but climate change is still a part of that. So we want to remember to do whatever we can to save this beautiful planet and to restore it.
Yeah.
Because we know, we remember, we were there when you could go to a stream, scoop the water up, and drink it.
Yeah.
And we were there when the Connecticut River was so polluted,
Yeah.
you couldn't even dream of fishing in it or anything. And it got cleaned up.
Yeah, they're still working on it, and it's much, much better, much better.
It is, and it can happen for all of us. So I hope you know, you're not too old. If you're our age, no, you're here for a reason. You got work to do. And if you're younger, we know that the future is the children. They will help us lead the way as we teach them. No, we teach them the basic living skills, and then they teach us how to live in a better world, because we're kind of the ones that messed it up, you know, I'm just saying. Well, we
Didn't
used up
know any
our...
better.
Yeah,
Just
well,
everything
we
was
do
selfish.
now. I mean, you know what? The thing is, we didn't know any better. We should have. I mean, you can only make so much sense. You start dumping toxic sludge into the waterway, and you think you wash it away and dilute it. Heck, no. That poison is in there. Then you eat the damn fish and you get sick. Think about that. Well, on that note,
Well, this is a nice little thing that says here, more than 99% of us are, what do you call this, age group, whatever, are retired and feel privileged to have lived the best of times. I really feel that. I really feel like we did live the best of times. I just wish there was a way we could pass that on.
aside from the fact that we're not retired.
Well, yeah, I don't think we're ever
Probably
going
how
to
much, I
retire.
don't
We're going
know.
to die at this job. That's what
Well,
happens when you work with family, you know, it kind of gets...
But on the other hand, just saying that we are doing something even here at the campground, because we don't have a lot of crazy diversions and stuff like that. People come here and we try to build a community. And at Girls Weekend this weekend, one of the best things I heard, and I heard it over and over from different women that attended, and we do hear it, and you can even check our reviews and people will say that. They'll say it's like coming home. It's like being with family. You come and you're received with love, and that's our hope, that they'll come to the gate and they'll go,
Yeah, you can breathe again, and they feel
Yeah.
good about being here. They know that their happiness, or their comfort and everything, it depends on us. You know, we do what we do for them because we really like having them here. It's not the same as having a restaurant or a hotel or anything like that. It's camping. Everybody's here to get away. They want, even if it's spending 2 nights. You know, they come, they relax, they have a good time, they have a swim.
Yet even if you are in a restaurant, if you're a waitress, you can bring people to cheer and love. If you're in the kitchen, You can really make that food with love and caring. I'm going to tell you something. They will know when they eat it. It's an energy. It's all about energy. If you're a beautician, if you're a bartender, if you're an engineer, whatever you are, even if you're in the military, you know, it's unfortunate that we have to have military, but you can do your job with honor and dignity and caring for other people and working toward a better world.
You know, we
I'm going to pass the collection plate. No, I'm just kidding.
we read a little series of books about a woman who was, she self-proclaimed a detective. And she's an older woman, probably in our age range and everything. And when you're reading the story, what they tell you is you reach a certain age and you become invisible. And as we've reached that certain age, I honestly believe that you'll find that people, or unless this is just everybody now, people don't open the door for you anymore when you're going in the store or out of the restaurant or whatever. They just don't notice you. So she could solve a lot of problems because she could get away with being nosy and poking her nose into a lot of things that she shouldn't have poked her nose into because nobody noticed her. She was just a little old lady.
Yeah.
So don't let yourself be invisible. Be out there. Make a little bit of noise, you know. We deserve a good time, too.
And we're telling you about our good old days. Make today
Right.
your good old days.
Absolutely.
See you next time.
Bye.
Peace. Oh, shoot. Hang on a minute. Cancel. I don't want to close that. I want to end the video. Lost my mind there.
I certainly didn't know how to end it.
I just forgot.